What is going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nick McHenry, and welcome to the kickoff of a show that I'm calling Retail Coffee Break. It's also going to be a podcast that I will link below, where I have a half an hour chat with the people on the front lines of retail, in the dirt, grinding away day in, day out about their stories and just a conversation surrounding this business that you and I both love, retail. In this episode, I kick it off with Isabella Livia. She spent her career working her way through several of the largest companies in the luxury fashion industry, starting as a PR and marketing intern, and then working through as a buyer for Brooks Brothers and Saks Fifth Avenue, and then also on the wholesale side, working for the likes of brands like Halston. She's now gone on to new endeavors, but through all of this, she just says so many great lessons about how to be agile and iterate and frankly, just hustle your way to be successful in this industry and really any industry with the skills that you learn in retail. So if you have been impacted by COVID-19, which secret, we've all been impacted by it. There's so much to learn in this conversation about how to be flexible and make it through. I hope that you enjoy this first episode. Drop a comment below if you have any feedback or thoughts. And yeah, let's get into it.
So
How are you?
So I'm good. So today we delivered like 100 meals to the local hospital in my area. So the fundraiser went really, really well. So that's kind of how I told you been keeping myself busy.
Right.
But it's been like crazy to me to kind of see, taking my sales background and then applying it to an industry such as the restaurant industry, which is completely different, but in the same essence, like you're still selling something, you're selling a product, you're selling a service.
Right.
And I think, if I didn't have the background that I had in terms of like sales and securing tips and things like that, like, I don't think, it would be as impactful as as that fundraiser, had gone. I didn't expect to raise 600 meals, and I did, and we made over like $15,000 in less than 3 days.
Holy crap. That's amazing.
And that was just me reaching out to my network and the relationships that I built over the years, and like not being afraid to just go after people that, I haven't talked to in, a couple of years because I lost touch, and be like, hey, listen, like I'm doing this thing. Would you be interested in, participating in it and supporting it?
Right.
And I think that's kind of like the sales background that I had, like not just, going after it without any inhibitions that stop you to go after those people. So that's like one project I've been working on. And then this other project, I actually been partnering with my old president at Urban Outfitters. We're starting this website. It's called NYC Strong.
Okay.
And basically the mission behind that is to take individuals in the community and talk to them and see how they've kind of impacted their local community. So we've partnered with a female founded brand called FYB Jewelry. Did a collaboration with them of different bracelets that emulate our mission, which is determination, strength, and community. And 50% of the proceeds that we raise from selling these bracelets will go to the charity that we decide to partner with. The charity that we're partnering with for this project is City Meals, and they donate any donations to that organization. They give 100% to the senior citizen community, which is a very, in this time, a susceptible population. They're high risk. So it's been interesting and been like exciting to kind of get this, if you will, like startup type of website off the ground. It's out of my realm in terms of how do I, create funding? How do I create awareness? Yeah, we have a hashtag, but it's getting people involved and like creating those stories. So similar to kind of what you're doing with this podcast, it's, how do you pivot what you've learned in like the last 10 years of your career and like apply it to something totally different? And, how do you create that exciting content that actually people relate to? Because more than ever now that I found, is people want that human interaction. We haven't been able to, express that in over a month.
Right.
And in Europe, even more so. I mean, there have been moments where I'm like, wow, I just need a hug. Like, I just need a handshake, like something. And, I think those stories and telling those stories that have how people have impacted their communities is super powerful now. I think that's what gives us the hope that will come out of this. And it's, I think speaking to retail in specific, the product is important, but it's the relationship aspect coming out of this that's going to be, I think, 100 times more important. So like, how do these small boutiques really clientele their clients, really engage with what's going on in their life? Because that's how you're going to sell. You're not going to sell by, having an awesome, purse of this season. Like, no one's going to care about that anymore.
Right.
I think that's my opinion. I don't know. Product is emotional, especially with having a fashion head. But I think for the consumer, it's like, what's the story behind it? So, with this FIB jewelry brand, the fact that they are a huge advocate of city meals and donating half of their profits to that organization, I think that's going to speak more volumes going forward than just, buying something and it doesn't contribute to anything. That's one aspect that I think that the industry could go and lean a little bit more into. I mean, you got brands like Patagonia doing it. You have brands like Lululemon that do it naturally. Nike's done it. But like, have these brands lean into it a little bit more, I think could be a really good strategy going forward. But yeah.
So how do you think, I mean, we're just going to dive right in because this is also on the way. So we're just going to, everything you just said is gold. So we're just going to keep rolling. But coming from a, retail background, like you were in buying, you were in wholesale. I mean, you've touched upon it, like learning the sales part of it, learning the relationship. I mean, do you feel like the retail industry is what taught you this? Or do you feel like, honestly, like, were you just like born with some of it? I mean, you're throwing out a lot of things kind of combined together, I feel like.
I think, growing up, like growing in the restaurant industry, maybe taught me a little bit about that. And like having my dad, be a, self-made restaurateur, he didn't go to a big culinary school. Like, he figured it out. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They figure it out along the way. I don't think there's a book that says this is how you create, the most spectacular business out there. Like, I think with every step of the business, there is also failure. And I think you need to embrace those failures and try things that are out of the box. And I think now more than ever, trying things that are out of the box, testing the market, now is the perfect time to do it. Like, going back to answer your question, I think, maybe that started it. And I think being the type of person that I've been and knowing that the fashion industry is all about who you know, I've never really taken no for an answer. I've always tried to figure out, okay, all right, it's a no this time, but doesn't mean I'm not going to contact you 4 months down the road and say, hey, listen, like, I did this, this, and this. You told me I wasn't good enough, but now I've just proved you that, I was worth it. Right. Type of thing.
Right.
Not everyone has that personality, and not everyone is out to prove something. And not to say that I am, but I think there's a way you can go about it to showcase your skills in a different light, and being a little bit more open-minded to the different avenues that you can go down in this industry. It's not, I think sustainability is going to play a huge role too. Like, that's massive.
Right.
And it goes back to, this whole idea of buying the right product at the right time, and what product are consumers really going to react to. And I think this period, being at home and not having all these tangible things and this consumer mindset, I think it's going to scale back, the mindset of consumers too. Is like, do I really need that?
Right.
You don't. At the end of the day, you don't.
Yeah.
So what's this again? So like, what's the story behind it?
Right.
I think with every product that's out there, there needs to be a story. It can't just be like, a great pair of, shoes.
Right. No, I mean,
So,
like, I think you're right. How do you feel about, because I feel like I've struggled with this with the fashion industry, because
yeah.
I completely agree with you. Like, everything needs to have a story, and like that's what is going to get consumers to buy in the future. But I feel like it's actually super apparent right now that as trends, we are in the fashion industry after all, about storytelling kind of pick up, so many brands do it. It's almost like your story, while it did maybe matter at one point, is now like diluted across it. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like when I hear sustainability stories now, and I'm a big sustainability proponent, that being said, I almost like partially tune out when I hear that now, unless their story is like a unique spin on sustainability, because I just hear it day in, day out, over and over again. And I feel like coronavirus has kind of done that same thing, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like a lot of the stories, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's been amazing to see people come out and support and like pour out all of their support for businesses or whatnot. But because everyone's kind of now saying everyone has the same story.
Right. Everyone does. Like everyone's making masks, everyone is making garments. Like, totally.
And
it's
forgive me, but I know I know it sounds like somewhat crass. I'm sure I'll get shit for this, but like when I see stories like another brand started making masks, I'm like, great. I'm super happy your brand's doing that, but then I kind of just move on. Whereas like 3 weeks ago, I was like, oh my God, have you seen this brand making masks? Like, it's so amazing. But now it's almost like the status quo. Like, if you have a manufacturing plant, you should be making masks. It's almost like on the storytelling side, like, do you even tell that story? Now,
well, my dad made a really valid point. So we did this fundraiser about 2.5 weeks ago, right? And he said to me, everyone's doing it right now, and like come mid-April, everyone's going to be over it. Like, no one's going to have any money to be putting towards these fundraisers because, yes, it's impacted right then and there, but now it's really going to be long-term. So people need to not just think about the now, they need to think about 6 months ahead of time. Like how our business is going to look 6 months down the road, how our business is going to look come to 2021. Like that is more the pressing question than like, how are we reacting to this now? You can get out of this, if you're down 50%, stores are going to open back up, retailers, restaurants, whatever are going to open back up. But it's going to be the later half of the year that's going to be the most impactful part of how you're going to come out of this in the end.
So how are you and your dad looking at it, knowing that fact that like this is gonna wear off, I guess, from like the fundraising standpoint and from everything that's going on?
I think it just comes back again to the relationships that you have, and I think that's going to speak volumes. There's people that come out of the woodworks that haven't eaten at my dad's restaurant in like over 15 years and are now back.
Wow.
So that I think speaks volumes. So I think, having that level and it's hard to achieve that. You can achieve it in a small, like mom and pop shop, but when you get bigger and scale out, I think that's where it's going to get really hard for these department stores and whatnot to really hone in on the clienteling aspect.
Right.
Because that does matter. Like I care that every time I go to a store, especially if I'm paying, $250 and above and, every time I go there, I want to make sure that person in the store knows my story. Like, even though she's pretending, she could be pretending to know, but that connection, it makes the overall experience, and people are going to come back because of an experience and not necessarily, the product, at the end of the day. The luxury brands have the market of experience. Like take Hermes, like people buy Hermes because it's exclusive. No one has it. You're on a wait list for however long for a Birkin bag. Like they got it nailed down. So like, how do these smaller mom and pop shops kind of do that same concept? Not necessarily exclusivity, but like maybe it's inclusivity. Like maybe it is taking the time of like speaking to 10 or 16 clients on a weekly basis to ask them like how your day is going, because that matters.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you brought up the 15-year example, because I come from a family business as well, like I mentioned, and I feel like this was sort of, stamped into me from a very young age, because I think that's what my parents kind of built their business off of, even though it was ballroom dance, it was still clienteling, not fashion or whatnot. That being said, I feel like in the last, my career or in your career, in the time that we've been in, things have been so good that I think people have looked at these relationships as like a very finite window. Because like it's if you have customers walking in every day and your business is great and just organically people are coming in to shop from you, you can be like, okay, let's look at the customers, let's re-engage the customers that shopped and haven't shopped in 2 years or 3 years.
Right.
But nobody's calling, like, in the last 5 years, very few businesses are probably calling that customer that hasn't been in 15 years and saying, hey, do you remember me? Like, I loved serving you 15 years ago. No one's calling that customer. They're just saying like, oh, they moved on. They're gone.
Right.
Or whatnot. But I don't know. I feel like that's
an untapped, it's a very small, like, percentage that they'll probably come back, but to be able to get some of that back, some of that, traffic back, 100%. Like, it's not worth, it is worth it, but it's how I think businesses look at it. It's not worth spending millions of dollars going after people that haven't shopped, after whatever, 10 years with us. But it's like, okay, what's the new experience? I probably didn't shop with you for 15 years because I moved on to a cooler, better brand that has a cooler experience. So what's your new experience?
How many businesses in your entire lifetime, retail, fashion or not, have even reached out to you on a personal level for not being on an email list, just reached out to you that you shopped there after a year of not shopping there or 2 years of not shopping there? Yeah, never happens.
So that's an opportunity for sure.
I feel like I'd be so like fucking impressed if someone called me and was like, hey, do you remember, I don't know if you remember me, but like I helped you at this restaurant or this store 2 years ago. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I just wanted to touch base. Like, are you okay with everything that's going on? Like, I saw on LinkedIn you're doing X, Y, Z. I'd be like, oh my God, this is the best person of all time.
Yeah. I feel like people would react to it. Some people would be like, okay, I don't know. And then other people I think would be like, whoa, this is actually kind of cool when you take a step back and kind of think about it on like a hindsight, like be like, oh wow, that was actually, let me look this brand up again.
Do you think we've lost some of that in like our generation? And this is way derailing from the conversation, but that's okay.
I think technology has 100% been a perpetrator of us not picking up the phone and actually having a conversation. I think you and I come from a similar background where, we grew up when technology was kind of evolving. Like we had high school, like in high school, we probably had our first cell phone. If that.
Whipping out my Sidekick, flipping it up and down.
The whole 1990s like flip phone, whatever.
Yeah.
But like we grew up calling like, hi, Miss and so-and-so, is so-and-so there? Like
I miss those days.
But the generations, underneath us, I don't think have that connection, like where you can call your friend straight on their cell phone.
Right.
You don't need to go even through like.
But even when it comes,
what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And
even delivery, people are going on Seamless.
Right.
Seamless takes 20% of every restaurant's profits.
Right.
Pick up the phone and call them directly to how you do it.
Nobody does that. Like, if you have Seamless, no one does that. No, I know. No one does it. It's true. But it's also, is it just like, I feel like I completely agree with everything you're saying. It's also just that, I think that you forget, like, no one's calling the restaurants because they're not thinking about kind of conscious level, the person on the other end of that transaction, because we just like, everything's convenient now. And also like, I don't know if we see the one-to-one interaction as much as they did it before, because now it's all like one to many. All the communication we do is one to many. How many likes did I get on this Instagram post? How many, it's there's not like, I'm not like looking through my likes and be like, oh, I really hope this person who I want to impress looked at it. Like, I don't even look at that. I just look at like, oh, cool. Like this got 50 likes. Awesome.
Right. Exactly. But I think there's also an element of, we lost it a little bit, but there also could be, some later down the road where brands and even like small stores, they start to do that on a personal level. Like you can use Zoom as a platform to like do personal shopping via the internet and actually like book a scheduled appointment, where you're actually having that human to human conversation.
Right.
You got to figure out the logistics of how that actually would feel in terms of like being on brand. But I think there's no reason why you couldn't, utilize that.
No, I think you're right with like the whole Zoom thing. Like I do think out of all the things that have happened in the last month, like that is a big benefit. Like I feel like I'm having more one-to-one conversations than I've ever had in my entire life, just because you're forced to. Like it's because it's hard. It's hard to organize. Like for me to organize you and someone else and someone else and someone else to hop on one Zoom call together. Not that easy unless it's once every month or whatnot.
Right.
This might be the best thing, honestly, to ever happen to networking of all time. Because I hate networking. Like I love people, but I hate going to networking events. Because you always have the same thing where like people click out and they go to the little subgroups and you're in like groups with people that know each other and you got to kind of poke in. But now with 6 feet away, social distancing, you're going to be forced to like have a one-to-one conversation because that's the only person you can talk to.
And I think people are going to be a little bit more humble as when they come out of this, especially in the fashion industry. I can tell you back in January when I was poaching people for going after new companies and things like that, when I lost my job, didn't get one response. My resume, in email, looked over. Now, March, everyone is responding because everyone is scared that they might lose their job and they might need an actual connection that knows a connection that knows a connection.
Wait. Step back. So in January, when you were reaching out to people to talk to them about a potential job opportunity, nobody was responding. And now everybody's responding?
Everyone that I've emailed right now has been super responsive. Yes, send me your resume. Yes, I know so-and-so that knows so-and-so that could hook you up. It's insane.
Email or LinkedIn mostly?
LinkedIn.
Just email?
I'm talking
LinkedIn.
I'm talking LinkedIn.
Okay. Like you messaging them on LinkedIn saying, hey, I saw your profile. Like I want to chat or whatnot. They're all doing that. That's crazy. It's
crazy how much the behavior has changed. And I might not be the only one who's noticed that, but I noticed exponentially because I've been on the search since January. So I'm like, whoa, what happened here? Like no one was, maybe no one had the time to network.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like it's a good point. Like if you're in the office doing reports and stuff like that, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have an open calendar.
Now you have all the time in the world to network.
But that's still crazy though. Like, you know what I mean? Because I would have guessed honestly the opposite, even though I know people have more time now, just because let's be real, there's way more people looking for jobs now. Like in January, there was a huge surplus of jobs and a huge shortage of candidates. Now it's literally completely flipped on its head, the opposite. So I'm shocked that I'm shocked recruiters aren't just getting pounded or HR people aren't just getting pounded or anybody in general.
Okay, so I should be specific in saying that there's a list of companies that I've wanted to reach out to, but I made a list of who I would want to work for, and I reached out directly to those people. So that's probably why. So the list isn't
that's awesome.
Emailing everyone, but I have a targeted list of companies that I want to work for, right? So let me reach out to, and it's not even like, let me look for a job. At this point, my approach is not that.
Right.
My approach is like, how are you doing? How's the business doing? Yeah. I'm curious. Like, do you see yourself in 6 months, like coming out of this, shitstorm, or are you going to really, are you just focusing on the now?
Right.
Having more of a candid conversation than is there a job there? Yeah, no, for sure. Because you want to be impressionable. I think that's the most important.
Yeah.
So
I'm still super impressed that like you were able to go out and get that. I mean, I don't know how many people are doing that right now, but I would assume a lot of people are reaching out to a lot of people in general.
You have to, it's like a double-edged sword. You have to be sensitive now. You don't want to like go overbear people with emails, but like if you just shoot them like a quick, like, hey, like if you have time, if you're interested, like would love to network.
Right.
At the end of the day, there's no harm done in networking because
for sure.
You never know. 6 months down the road, you might be calling me because I'm at some other company.
Absolutely.
So that's how I look at it. Maybe not everyone looks at it that way, but
No, listen, I don't know if the reason they're doing it is because they're afraid that they're, might need.
No, I know. No.
But that being said, like, I think there is some truth to it. I mean, I hope that people our age specifically, and because I know this because like I left the corporate world or whatever a year ago or whatnot. So I've seen the complete opposite side of the uber smallest companies on earth versus like working from corporate environments. And my corporate office friends, specifically in retail, have always thought that it's super comfortable. Like, why aren't you doing this? I will ask them like, oh, like, why aren't you like networking more? Why aren't you like getting out there? And it's like, I work for XYZ ginormous company in fashion. Like, I'm safe. Like, it's fine. Like, it's a super stable, big company. Right. And at the end of the day, like, I think it's been proven that that's not the case.
Not the case.
Right?
Yeah.
So hopefully people take away, like what you're taking away, that like, it's so important to constantly be improving yourself, improving your network, getting out there and doing these kind of things.
And not being afraid to kind of just take the leap and just, maybe do something a little bit different that, you might not have thought of while you were in that, whatever role you were in.
So another question, like what do you think makes you such a go-getter? Because I feel like every time we talk, you're telling me a new thing that you're going out and doing, whether it's, reaching out to people on LinkedIn to chat or doing the NYC Pride or whatever. Like, I mean, I speak to people all the time who are waiting for something. It's like, hey, why, like, oh, what, so cool to like do this, this, and this, and this. They'd be like, yeah, that'd be amazing. Like, why aren't you doing it? It's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm waiting for the right time, the right website to be up, da 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 da. I don't know. Like, what
For
fuels
me,
you?
I think for me, it's just, I can't like not do anything.
So you're loving being on quarantine.
I hate being on quarantine. For me, I think I've just always been that, that active mind. I think I've always just been the person who's been uber creative, thinks outside the box, isn't, again, like I have never been afraid to like go and speak to a CEO and like pick their brain. Like people are so afraid of like, oh, I can't talk to them because they're the CEO of the company. I'm like, I want to talk to them because how did they get there? What, was it luck? Was it like right place at right time? Like the stories are always like different, but like, it's always like, yeah, I was at the right place at the right time. I grew up in the 80s when it's like, okay, great. Yes. But now we're talking about 2020.
Right. Right. Right.
So I think for me, I've always, never, I've always wanted to be involved in certain things, whether it's, achieving X, position in the fashion world, which, like I said, you have to embrace the failures. I failed, right? I lost my job, not because of any reason other than like Corona hitting, but it sucks. To me personally, I felt like that was a failure because I'm like, okay, now I'm like 6 months out of not working. I really need to like ramp it up. Like, how am I going to show that I'm still relevant? Because 6 months is a long, fairly long time to like not be able to exercise certain skills. Right.
Right.
So I think, networking, doing this fundraisers, working with this, with my old boss from Urban on this platform where I'm like just literally volunteering, bringing on new brands, seeing if people are open, like that. You have to start somewhere. And I think that's just been instilled in me since the get-go. I've always been told no, or I'm not good enough to get to a certain level. And I think that kind of fuels the fire for me a bit. If I'm being quite honest.
No, I love that.
So, some people, and in our industry, I think it is all about who you know, but there's also a sense of like people from a certain stature of, I don't know if it's like monetary, but they got, a lot of people have money in fashion. Okay. So when you don't come from that, high level, I think it even drives people to be even more successful in what they're trying to achieve because they're like, I don't have a, VC backup.
Right.
Like I'm doing this myself. I'm pumping in money myself.
Right.
I don't know the hedge fund guys that could, throw me a favor. Could I contact them and just show them who I am? Yeah. If they believe in me or not. But I think there's a level of, you can't be like fearful in approaching certain things in our industry. I think you have to be smart and tactful in terms of how you approach them, I think. But yeah, I think I've always just been that type. Not really much of an explanation, but
no, listen, I think that was great. I mean, I think it does explain a lot about, why you do what you do. So to the girl who is always said no to, that's going out there and making it happen, what's next on your agenda? Like, what would your be ideal outcome in the next, I don't know, with whatever we're calling this outcome of coronavirus?
So I've been thinking a lot about this. Based on our last conversation, going after like a startup, I think that's where I would benefit the most in terms of my skill set and really just being challenged. I think in the corporate world, you have to stick to your lane a bit. And I think that's where I've run into a little bit of my internal struggle of like, okay, we can stick to our lane, but what happens if we take this risk and like, it could be successful or it could fail, but we would never know if we didn't take that risk.
Right.
So I imagine myself or targeting myself to position position myself well to approach those like startup-y firms. Do I think that, some of them are going to come out of this successful? Yes. I think there's going to be a lot of new innovations coming out. Do I think some of them are going to fail? 100%. That's just inevitable, just with the conditions out there. But, I want to be more digitally focused. I want to, be able to showcase my creativity. I think that's something that I've suppressed in the last 15 years. I never really told anyone this, but I am an artist. So that creative mindset comes natural to me. So I think that's probably a little bit of why I like to dip myself into different things. I think that's a natural creative mind. But, start off with that and then maybe build my own brand, my own, consulting firm. Once I feel that I'm confident in my skill set, that I could really help other people kind of grow. Naturally, I'm good at connecting people. Naturally, I'm good at figuring out, I need this person, that person, and this person to kind of build this.
Right.
So I'm already starting to do that with this NYC Strong brand. But, there's more to my talent than just connecting people and benefiting X to, get Z, that type of thing. So that's kind of where I see myself. We'll see. I mean, if corporate America wants me back, I'll take it for what it is right now and, roll with it as I build my little, side hustle, but we'll see.
Well, yeah. I love that. I think it's inevitable that you're going to get what you want based on, our conversations and just your mentality towards things.
So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like after coming out of this whole thing, I think it's nothing but going to be positive things. I think you can't look at the negative when you come out of this and being like, oh, there's 10,000 other people going after the same job. But you have to figure out what sets you apart from those 10,000 people going after the same job. And at the end of the day, it's can you click with the person that you're talking to? Are you a bullshitter or are you the real that you can say,
right.
I actually did this with my time. I think that's going to speak volumes versus I can have a conversation with everyone. It's
right.
Okay, but what can you do with that?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of that's it. That's all I have to say.
So, all right. So if someone's listening right now that has the perfect position for you, where can they get a hold of you?
The best would be my email.
Okay. If it's okay with you, I'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, definitely.
That way, if someone's listening, to the few people who will be listening at the beginning of this podcast journey, maybe someone will reach out.
Oh, it's fun. I love it. No, it's good. I think it's super interactive. It's, especially being in a relaxed environment where you can kind of just be yourself and really speak candidly. I think that's what people need right now. They don't need this fluff.
Right.
They need the real.
That's what we're all about. The real.
Exactly.
The real all the time.
Exactly. So yeah. So I think email probably be the best.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and talking about your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Finally,
so great to see your face.
I know, right? Exactly. This is the beauty of Zoom. Zoom is introducing so many people face to face that only would have talked on the phone before.
I love it.
So that is it for this episode of Retail Coffee Break with Isabella Livia. If you have any feedback or questions, put them in the comments below. And hey, why don't you subscribe to the channel while you're at it? I'm putting out fashion business content every single week, and I would love for you to be a part of this amazing community we're going to be building on this channel. Have a great night or day or morning, wherever in the world you are, and I will see you later.